Well, here we are, everybody, again for another episode of Ball Cap Bible Study. My name is Wade Cruz. I'm the pastor for senior adults at Quail Springs Baptist Church. And here we are, November 10th, Veterans Day. So I wore my new Navy hat. Don't tread on me, Navy. So here we go. It's the day before Veterans Day, and I wanted to share a veteran story with you. I wanted to, I'll have some scripture towards the end, but I wanted to share with you my testimony, and I'm going to try to do it in 5 minutes or less. When I say my testimony, somebody asked me a few years ago, when were you called into ministry? And I really didn't get that call, that Damascus Road experience, that lightning bolt thing. But as I was looking back, I just kept seeing all the places God was using me, and I was just available. Sometimes your best ability is your availability. And, God more often than not uses the willing over the talented. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. I'm the fool God uses to confound the wise. So Veterans Day, I got my grenade cup going. Okay. So I'm 17 years old, have a rough life, broken home, all that. My mom's trying to kick me out of the house as a minor. It was weird. But anyway, I enlisted in the Navy just to kind of get away from her. And there's more to the story, but not if it's going to be 5 minutes long. So I go to boot camp, and I was one of those guys in high school that kind of did everything: vocal music, drama, football, pole vaulting, the diving team, with in the pool and stuff. So all sorts of things. And I was in the main choir and the show choir. Really wasn't good enough to be in the show choir, but I think they needed me to carry the speakers or something. So anyway, get to boot camp, and during orientation, everybody comes by and tells you about what boot camp's going to be like. Well, one of the sessions it was the chaplain in that first day or two. Chaplains come by and they hand out their little pamphlets, and they say, church will be at this time, Protestant, Catholic, Jewish, worship times. And so I'm looking at the pamphlet. Well, I was, a good kid, and my senior year of high school, went to First Baptist Moore, Oklahoma, and uh, Paul Box, the pastor there, was kind of my first spiritual authority guy. And so Sunday is the only day you get off in boot camp. Every other day they're marching you and they're working you and they're doing all this stuff. And so I wake up Sunday morning and put on my little uniform and march down to the chapel and the Protestant services there. Well, all the chaplains, obviously, they're officers. They've been to seminary. They've got master's degrees and stuff like that. And so our chaplain was this lady. She was a lieutenant commander, two big stripes and one little stripe. And she was, getting us put in place and stuff. Well, it didn't take very long for about seven or eight of us to realize we sang in high school, and we, could harmonize. We were pretty decent and could read music and that kind of stuff. So I don't know why, but we're all kind of talking, and they just kind of shoved me at her. They said, "Go ask her, go ask her." So okay, so we're, ma'am, would it be okay? Some of us have sung in high school. Could we put together a little choir and maybe help lead worship? And, I mean, no is okay, but we just thought we'd love to be able to do that. Oh, she lit up like a Christmas tree. She was like, "Oh, yes, yes, it's great." So we started singing, like old Imperial songs, and, like "I'll Rise Again" and different things. And it was fun. It was great. So fast forward about the last week of boot camp, and been there 8, 9 weeks, and our company commander calls me in. We didn't have what they call drill instructors; they called them company commanders. And he was a senior chief petty officer and about to retire, so he wasn't that hard, yell at you guy. Looked a little bit like Dan Aykroyd and with glasses. So he calls me in. He goes, "Hey, what did you do?" And I said, I'm standing there. "Which time, sir?" And he goes, "I don't know what you did, but your tail has to be at the officers' mess Thursday at 0700. That's 7 a.m. In your dress blues, like the Cracker Jack outfit." And I, and by that time they are loaning us out to help, to make copies or run errands or do whatever. And so the officers mess, we're cheap labor at that time for the rest of the base. And I said, officers mess, am I serving breakfast? He goes, you are breakfast. And I'm like, what? He said, you're representing boot camp at the Admiral's Prayer Breakfast. And I said, I'm what? He said, the chaplain called over. She selected you to be the ambassador for all the recruits, and there's thousands of them, all the recruits there at boot camp. And I'm at the Admiral's Prayer Breakfast. I'm like, wow. And he's like, don't embarrass me. Don't mess this up. So I go, and it's not just like a little 20-person prayer breakfast. It's the whole community of San Diego. It's the fleet, all the captains and admirals and the people that run ships and bases and the San Diego Chamber of Commerce. Our keynote speaker was the president of the San Diego Padres. Now we're talking 44 years ago, 43 years ago. But if you want to ask me, when was I called? Um, when was I chosen? I don't even like that word that much. I mean, it is in the Bible, but the thing is, what hit me there, it was a lot of brass, a lot of people. Everybody was coming up saying, "So how do you like boot camp, son? Where you from?" That kind of stuff, and it was just amazing. It was overwhelming. It was surreal, like a dream. But here's what I realized. Right? It took me years, maybe even decades later to realize this. But if you want to think about a calling or even a tiny, glimpse of a Damascus Road experience, God has the ability to pull me out of 10,000 people and put me where he wants me. I I didn't even know there was a prayer breakfast. It wasn't like I was like, oh, can I go? Can I go? I mean, it was just no clue that was coming. But, God has this sovereign understanding of who we are, where we're going to be, what we're going to be doing. We may not understand it. We may be in the midst of something, but look at what God can do. You you might be like the only person where you are. You're like all your family is somewhere else. You're 400, 500, 1,000 miles away. But guess what? God still is using you. And even if you're only 5 miles away, God will use you. But you have to be available. You have to, kind of be prepared. You have to be a consistent, faithful walk. Do your devotions and do your Bible reading and go to church and it's kind of like a coach that watches how you do in practice to see if you're ready for the game. And so as we're entering into Veterans Day, that's my calling story, my testimony. But I just want you to know that military presence, or we're here Veterans Day, uh, that's all through the Bible. You can go all the way back to David and his mighty men and the warriors and all the things, and Joshua, and going into battle in the promised land. And of course, you can go all the way. Obviously, Roman soldiers were all over the place in the New Testament. And think about, the centurion that needed his daughter to be healed. And here's one thing I want to close with. Now that you know a little bit more about me, now I feel God made His presence and His sovereign will in my life known to me. Um, as we approach Veterans Day, I want to read this. And this is so Jesus is on the cross and he's died and all this stuff has happened, the earthquakes and the veil being torn. And then Mark 15:39 says this. It said, I got my phone. It says, when the centurion who was standing right in front of him as he's hanging on the cross, it doesn't say that, but that's what it means, saw the way he breathed his last, he said, truly, this man was the Son of God. Centurion, Roman soldier, over 100 guys, an officer. So here's what I would say. as we approach Veterans Day and we're remembering, you know, who protects us and who, one, they need prayer, don't they? Yeah. And two, uh, always thank them. If you're a veteran, thank you. I'm barely a veteran. I mean, barely. I was in 2 years and 2 months, and got out on a bad football knee. Fortunately, it was a fully honorable discharge because of some loopholes. I did. There's God again taking care of me, and I was also in long enough to get all my VA benefits. All I really did was go to school, served on a ship for a little bit, but just a summer tour. But when I mean, I'm so proud. I wish, I could go back and tell 18-year-old Wade, you know, the way to do things better. Have lots of, I wouldn't call them regrets, but I didn't do things as well as I could have. We're all there. You know what I'm saying, but let God use you. Thank a veteran. Understand. And I'll close with this. Never forget, never forget it was a soldier who first declared truly this was the Son of God. All right. That's our Veterans Day special. Uh, Appreciate you guys, and we will see you next week.